20th, 2024 Madison County School Board meeting. This meeting is now officially called to order. We will please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. And if anyone would like to have anything to say, we have a sign-in sheet to the back, and it's going to be to my right. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to go to item number 2. And that's 2.1, amendments to the agenda. And we're going to have 3. And those will be 5.11, 5-year work plan, 5.12, spot survey recommendation, 5.13, memorandum of understanding with Madison County Education Association. We got that? Okay, thank you. Now, item number 3, public comment. Do we have any sign-ins? Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to go to the adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second for the adoption of the agenda?
I move we adopt the agenda.
I second.
It has been properly moved by Board Member Carroll, second by Board Member Thompson, that we accept the agenda. All in favor of? 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Item number 4, consent agenda items. They are 4.1, minutes, 4.2, fundraisers. Can we have a motion and a second for the approval of consent agenda, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. Item number 5, items for individual consideration. 5.1, personnel changes and volunteers. Mr. Killingsworth.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening we have 12 names on the volunteer list that we're asking your approval for. It states also the school and the type activity as to which they will be volunteering for. That's the first thing. Then when we get into the personnel recommendation page, unfortunately I have 2 that, as you can see, will be resigning. And we also have 2 down at just below that, 1 instructional, 1 non-instructional, that recommendation for next year. Those 2 should have been on the list from last meeting, and that was not there.
Is this school being recommended for next year?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Then we have, you want me to go through all of them? Okay. Then we have the additional summer hours. That one's probably listed at the top, May 20th. Well, it says additional 40 hours. You can see the individuals from Lee Pinetta Central, Greenville in the district office. Those are basically being requested 40 additional hours to follow up with the MTSS information that has to be done at the end of the year for those particular sites. And then Ms. Burns then will do the remainder part during summer school. Then you will see food service. Those are the people that are going to do our summer school program, and then there's 2 alternates there if needed. as well as you'll see Dr. Blue and Miss Williams, and it notes the time periods on those during the summer school that they're being asked for. Then we have a list for teachers, and what that is the pool to pull from when we sit down with the exact numbers as far as the number of kids that we need for summer school, because I'm not saying we will need all of them, but we need to go ahead and recommend them so that if we do need all of them, we're able to fulfill those obligations. Now, what you'll see, on yours, I think Mr. Israel's name is right up under it, but when it prints out, it throws it on an altogether different page by itself. That being with the teachers, you also have your paraprofessional names up there that would be used for summer school, your bus drivers, your maintenance, and then you also will have on the following, probably an attachment, is Mr. Pat Brown that will be used during the summer. He goes to all the facilities, mowing, keeping all those up, where we pull the custodians to hit the schools collectively to try to take care of those and move those around so that those will be taken care of. That's...
Mr. Joseph, since we have a person doing that for the summer, when we walk right up there on the side of this building right there, something really needs to be done. It needs to be maintained. Curbside service, first appearance, when you're walking, whatever. And that stuff needs to be trimmed out there. And then right behind us, it's our property. It's just a bunch of bushes.
We're working on it. Mr. Gill's working on that.
Okay. Well, thank you, because it's been that all year.
I spoke with
That's-
him last week about that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the personnel and volunteers.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we accept the personnel changes and volunteers. Any questions? All in favor, please show your hands.
Thank you.
Thank you, 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Thank you, Mr. Kinnensworth. Item 5, Amara site license, Mrs. Hill. And Mrs. Hill, while you're there, you're going to be 5.3 also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Need approval for site licenses for a program that is actually an AI phonics program. And we selected this one because it is rated very highly by the What Works Clearinghouse that the state requires us to use to make sure that whatever instructional materials we buy meets a certain criteria. And so this AI program actually allows students to, it teaches them phonics, and it actually, they communicate with the AI, and it corrects them when they're reading if they don't read something correctly or don't pronounce it correctly, because it's a phonics program. So we are going to try this out in summer school and see how it works, but I'm very hopeful because it gets a very high rating, and we're using ESSER money to be able to do that. We also, well, let me stop there. That's 5.2, the mirror reading program.
Okay.
Okay. How is this, you say you're going to try it out in summer school.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
is that going to be just the end of it then, or are you going to, we're using this just for summer school then?
We are using this just for summer school,
Okay.
and then I will come back if
And then-
if it works really well and ask to use some more ESSER money to purchase licenses for the school year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this is just for the summer? That's
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's a lot of money.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve the Myra site licenses.
I second.
It has been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the Myra license contract. Any other questions?
Let me just also add, they said if there were licenses we didn't use for the summer, we could roll those over.
Okay, all in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
The next software that's on there is Progress Learning. That's a subscription-based service. We use Progress Learning for our district end-of-year test. We have to have something that, a test platform that we can use to create tests that are used for evaluations at the end of the school year. And so the neat thing about this one is it's also an instructional tool so that teachers can create their own test in there and be able to assign study questions to students. And so it works for two different purposes, but we have to have it for our district end-of-year test.
Okay, are we going for the 1, 2, or the 3 years?
I'm sorry, I should have realized that was on there. It's for the 3 years.
For the 3 years?
Yes, ma'am. If we get into it now, then we can use the ESSER money if we ask for the extension.
Okay. Okay.
And because we use it for evaluations, I mean, we have to have something to use for teacher evaluations for teachers who don't have a state test.
I got you.
This is what we use now.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the Progress Learning subscription.
I second.
Ms. Knight? Okay. It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the Progress Learning subscription. Any other questions? All in favor, please show your hand.
Thank you.
5-0, Ms. Bishop, thank you. Okay, Ms. Rose, it's your time, and you're going to be the next 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is where 5.1, recommendation for architectural contract. And I'm on those words, I need phonics too. My sister
It's a
taught
hard
me how
word to
read
pronounce. Yes, it's hard. Good evening. We're going to talk about a lot of RFPs tonight, and I'm going to kind of give you a summary. On this particular one, we had attempted to piggyback to retain the services of an architect. Mr. Reeves pointed out that we could not piggyback, so we went back to the drawing board and we advertised. We did a full RFP. It was out there for 3 weeks. We followed the statute. We had one response, which was the same one we were trying to piggyback. So we're asking for your, the committee that reviewed that is asking that that proposal be accepted for architectural services from CRA. Rutherford and Associates, Clemens, Rutherford and Associates. And that's to plan for the energy control and for the chillers at the high school.
Okay, this is probably a dumb question, but how does architecture come into this? For energy?
They have to do all the plans.
Do they have to
design
build a
it
new
before they
building
can
or something like that, or to house this, or?
They have to,
That's what I'm wondering.
Carol, these systems are huge.
Yes.
Y'all probably never seen these chillers. They're bigger than that whole desk up there, they're huge. And to change one of those out, the technology changes, so you got to design piping, electrical services, just pretty much rebuild our system.
So it's not
Okay.
That has to be engineered.
Right. I understand. I guess when I think of architecture, I'm thinking, you know, we're going to have to build a small building to hold this, or a big building, or
They also do mechanical engineering.
mechanical, yes, all that. Okay, well, thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Reeves, you had something to say?
Yes, ma'am. So you've gone through the RFP process, you only have one architect, so obviously y'all can approve them. We need a contractor.
yeah, we'll follow up. If the board accepts that recommendation, we'll follow up with a contract and we'll bring it back to the board.
So we're accepting the recommendation.
Okay, so this is only a recommendation that we're voting on right
This is a
now.
recommendation from the review committee to the board. It's up to the board.
That's who they're recommending, that's to us.
You're completing the RFP process. You're deciding that you're going to negotiate now with Clemens Rutherford, they've got to bring you back a contract.
Okay,
so you
right.
can see what's going to
Okay.
be charged and all that.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
Yes,
because I was on the committee, I can vote on this, right?
yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can move to,
I move to accept the recommendation for the architectural contract.
I second.
been moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the recommendation for the architectural contract. Any other questions? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. 5.5, recommendation for health service.
Okay, this one was a little more difficult. We did have two separate review committees that came in and actually reviewed. We got 3 proposals that were turned in, and the 2 proposals were absolutely neck and neck, both times in both point systems. There's only about 1.3 percentage difference between the total points from both of those reviews, between the 2. One is that the committee is recommending concentrates heavier on the city and county government. The other one that's neck and neck concentrates more on the public school system and the community colleges. Each one of them have their strengths, and I kind of summarize each of them for you on the document. The committee is recommending that we go with Brown and Brown, who was the 1.3% higher. It's up to the board to accept or reject that recommendation, to however they want to deal with it, but that's what the committee recommended. I think, and we've had a couple of board members of the point person and the alternate.
Since I had heard that it was so close, I just wanted to just see what was what, get that information that you all had. We didn't have the information. I'm willing to accept whatever the committee recommends, but we need to have that paperwork. I just need to see that paperwork.
Because it was so close,
That's
we
exactly.
actually brought the
And one was a
vendors
local
in
person.
so that we could see that one is more local than the other one, like one features the school districts, one features the city and county. They're pretty much neck and neck. Their commissions and everything are neck and neck. So it's totally up to the board how you want to either accept the recommendation from the committee or choose to go with the other one. It's your call. And the committee was informed that they are only making a recommendation. It's up to the board.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the recommendation of the Brown and Brown for our health benefits.
Second.
I've got something to contribute to this. Yes. I want to refer to a school board policy, Policy 6450, local purchasing. It's very short. The school board recognizes its position as a major purchaser in this community, and while it is the intention of the board to purchase materials and supplies of quality at the lowest possible cost through widespread competition, if all other considerations are equal, the board prefers to purchase from businesses located in Madison County, local businesses. And I believe there is a...
And hold on
and this
just 1
is-
minute, Mrs. Gibson. We want to take that motion and then you can discuss it.
We just
We have-
had,
We
we just
do
had a
have a
motion,
Okay, exactly.
and then we had a second, and now it's time to discuss.
And so I need to say that it has been moved by Mrs. Knight. Who did the second?
Second, Mr.
I
Clerk.
did.
Now, any discussion, any questions or anything on it?
Okay, but anyway, there's a connection, and there's no relative here, no bosom buddy, no nothing, in other words. But I strongly believe that, and now if it's an outrageous difference in price, then we're going to say local or no, we cannot go with that. But since evidently there's not a big discrepancy with the price, right?
When you look at all of the documents and go through them, they're pretty close to each other in the commission ratings.
Right.
And the commission that we are paying right now for Aon is right in the same range as both of the other companies came in at.
Okay, so it wasn't a matter of really money, I guess. What I'm thinking of, this FBMC, that involves a local person,
Correct.
And believe me, and the way I feel about it, as far as insurance goes, we need all the help and that we can possibly get. These people are involved with our school system, with the school board, the school teacher of the year banquet. In other words, they have been contributing. And so I feel like when someone contributes and has a vested interest in this, that's a good person to have on board. And then, of course, it goes along with this, what I just got through reading, the local people. So that's just my take on it.
There were places in the RFP that that say that the board can make a different choice based
Yes,
on
I know.
the preference and based on the local decisions by the district, what is in the best interest of the district. So yes, you could do that. It depends on how the board as a whole wants
Right,
to.
it's up to the board. Now, I want to thank the committee, because when you volunteer to be on a committee, that takes time.
Yes.
And I respect the committee members, but I still feel like having someone that knows us and cares for us and is dedicated to us, and that makes a difference.
And
That's
that's
my
my question that I had. It was local, and I had heard it was very close. And, but I'm not saying that we should choose him because they contributed to the school. I'm saying we should choose them because they are a smaller company. They are a smaller company, and they're right here, so that when we get in any binds or anything, or any information, we can get more personal
Attention.
attention. Mhm.
That's what I like, the personal part of that. But again, I'm not disrespecting the committee. This was something they
Well, the
worked on.
committee does the best they can with
Yeah,
the
they do.
information that
You're
they're
right.
given and they're reviewing.
See, that's
So-
my thing. Those people heard all that. We looking at it on paper, they
Well-
heard people talk.
As
You
somebody
see what
who
I'm
sat
saying?
on there, I can say that you're still going to get that personal service with both of them. That's why the scoring was so close. The major difference is there are some options that could save us a lot of money that Brown and Brown can bring to the table that FBMC cannot.
Okay, any other discussion? We'll take the vote. All in favor of? All opposes? 3-4, 2 opposes. Ms. Gibson and Ms. Hagan opposes.
Now, there will be a couple of things to follow up after this recommendation is approved. And one thing will be that we have currently a contract that Mr. Reeves is going to talk about that needs to be canceled. And then we have also, we're going to have to come back with a contract from Brown and Brown for their services too.
As you presently have a contract with, how do you say that?
Aon.
That contract can be canceled on 30 days written notice. I think you probably want to go ahead and direct your superintendent to send a notice to them to cancel that contract.
Because they had asked to continue that contract, so we need to cancel that.
And I think you can do that in your existing agenda. That's understood.
Tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so.
So would you like us to amend the motion?
Well, I'll just do a second motion. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Mhm. So where we're going to,
So, Madam Chair, I would move to go ahead and instruct the superintendent to make the notice to Aon to terminate our contract.
Second.
it is moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Carroll, that we terminate the contract with AR. Any other questions, discussions? All in favor of, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
And we will also be coming back with a letter that moves the broker from Aon to Brown and Brown. So you'll have a contract and that letter. The 30 days will be a gap between there and the start of the contract. So we want to make sure the broker is in place for that gap. We don't want to have any gap in services.
But it need to be noted that we will not our employees would not have a period without any coverage. They will be covered the full time.
And the contract for that will be 2 years for an initial period with 2 renewal periods of 1 year each, as long as everything's acceptable. Now, Mr. Reeves, that contract, the RFP actually has a 60-day on that contract. In the RFP, it talks about terminating it during the first initial part of it, and it has a 60-day instead of 30-day. Okay.
We're going to bring that back on.
We're going to bring that, yeah, contract's going to come back.
Okay, 5.6, recommendation for auditor of internal accounts.
This is a repeat RFP that we had last year for a one-year period. There were 3 reviewers. We had 2 proposals come in, one from the current provider, who is Mr. Buscher, and one from James Moore. They were vastly different in their costs. The committee is recommending that the proposal be awarded, or the RFP be awarded to Mr. Buscher for another, and this will be a 2-year period.
And will you give the reason? Will you give the reason?
There was a vast difference in the cost. It was almost doubled between
Yes.
one and the other. And if you'd like to speak to,
No, ma'am.
you were on the committee.
No, ma'am.
So the committee is recommending on that one that we go with Mr. Buscher for reviewing the internal accounts.
I move to recommend auditor of internal accounts per committee recommendation.
A second.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Knight, that we accept the recommendation for the auditors of internal accounts. Any questions? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. Okay, 5.7, the financial report.
Okay, if you will look at your packet, you will see in Fund 1,100 that we had revenue that we took in this period for $17,676,774, so almost $18 million in revenue. However, we spent about $260,000 more than what we took in. So that dips into your fund balance a little. It will take your fund balance from the 18% that was last month down to 16.9. So it fell almost 2 points. You're going to see that a lot of things that come due at the end of the year are going to impact that fund balance. So we do have some big expenses coming from insurance that are going to impact that fund balance. But it's still in fairly good shape. I will point out that the final audit report did move what we thought the fund balance was at 16.66 at the beginning of the year. They moved some figures around and they said it was really only at 15.33%. So that'll catch up with itself before the end of the year. We still have the hurricane deductibles we're dealing with. And that's 5-6 million. We do have a lot of the things in place where we're applying for things, but we don't have any money really coming in. We got a little small piece today, obligated for the forced labor that was when people worked during the hurricane. That money came back to us that we paid out. Not much, about $25,000, but it was still, we'll take it. We'll take it. Everything is stopped kind of while they're waiting for the final deductibles to be turned over to the FEMA folks. So we're hoping that that'll be within the next couple weeks and hoping they'll get started again. I talked about the cost of insurance, and the third calculation is in, and it is about 125 FTE below what we were at the start of the conference session at the beginning of the year. A lot of students falling off. It's going to be very difficult. One thing we have to start looking at right now at this time of the year, we have to start looking at the teacher salary increase. We will have to have an executive session to put where the attorney comes in and talks about that. But that, however you end up with your staffing allocation, it's going to impact how that teacher salary increase negotiation is. Last year you went forward with a 3-year plan. We stayed with it even though we had cuts and we did not give non-instructional raise last year. and we paid out bonuses out of ESSER. So if we stay with that 3-year plan, that it's going to mean a lot of money going down as a second year to raise those teacher salaries. So depending on your staffing allocation, the raises and the negotiations are going to all be tied together. So just be prepared for that coming up. Fund 2000, which is your debt service, 250,000 in, about 23,000 out. That's a payment that comes due right at the end of June, the beginning of July. That'll take about $260,000 back out of that fund. So right now you've got about 330 in it. That's mostly the racetrack money that comes in that pays for the renovations at the high school. We have 3 more years after this year to pay that debt off. Fund 3000, which is your capital funds. We've had $1.7 million, almost $1.8 million that came in revenues. We've only spent about $900,000 this period, so we're doing good there. The reason we haven't spent as much there is we're really tapping into the ESSER monies, trying to get the ESSER monies to pay for things that are allowable. The one thing you want to know about that with the capital outlay, because of the legislation that passed this year where the charter schools do get a share of the money, this year it was 20%, next year they will get 40% of the money. So you're going to see that increasing, and it's going to continue to tap into this. And you've got a lot of things that are pending from your ad valorem exemptions that are still pending. I did talk to the the property appraiser's office, and they right now have demolitions of well over $5 million that are coming as a result from the hurricane. So you're going to see property values are going to continue to go up. They're still going to come down some because of the damage that we had from the hurricane. And we have the big project of the chillers and the energy controls that probably is going to be in the upward range of $2-3 million that we're going to have to worry about replacing. And I'm guessing on that. Upper numbers, okay. 4,100, that's your food service. Where I'm starting to get worried about food service. It has nothing to do with the operation of it, but we have $1.2 million in revenues, and we spent almost $1.4 million. Even though we've got some money in transit, it's eaten that fund almost completely down to nothing, so there won't be any indirect costs taken out of that fund this year. We'll be lucky if that fund comes out on a zero flat plane. Excuse me. Some of the things that are driving that fund up, the cost of materials and supplies for your food have gone right out of sight. And while Miss Iris is pinching every penny she can't keep up with the rising costs of the food. And we've had almost 2 weeks worth of missed days during this school year between the hurricane and between the other missed days and the storm days. Every time we miss a day, that takes another chunk of money away from her that she can't get reimbursed for. So just know we're worried about it, but we're hopeful that we might at least break even. Fund 4,200, we had $1 million, almost $2 million in revenues collected that are available in that fund. That is your title, those are all your title funds. We spent out $2 million, so we still have some reimbursement that's been crossing inside each other, so we've got to balance those things out. Concern there is that only less than 50% of the money has been spent, and the deadline for that, those title grants, most of them is June 30th.
All right, look, can I ask you a question about that? That won't roll over, will it?
Many of the, well, Title I and Title II, and hopefully Title IV will have roll forward that will come into the new year. Some of those other ones will not. The Perkins will not have any roll forward. Some of the IDEA will have some roll forward that'll come in. but there are some that will not have roll forward.
Okay, Title I, 100% rolls over?
I can't say 100%. Here, the rule on Title I is that you can roll forward 15% of your total allocation every year. However, you can go over 15% of that once every 3 years. And the only way you can waive that is if the Department of Education gives you a waiver to allow you to roll more than that. The problem is with all this ESSER money that we've had lately, we've been focusing on the ESSER money, and the title money is sitting there, and that's being rolled forward at much larger rates. So the department has to come in and do a lot of waivers right now.
But, okay, now let me go back a little bit. You said June 1st would be when, that's the last they can spend the Title I money.
June 30th is the last
June
they can
30th.
encumber it.
So in other words, if it's there, it should be spent, right?
There's some that will not be spent in that. It will roll forward because
Okay.
the way the legislation is, they only allow you to have 10% of your money that comes in that can be used for administrative and indirect costs. Our indirect cost rate is at 8.52%. So that leaves very little money to pay for your administrators in Title I. So we use a lot of, maybe $150,000 to $200,000 in roll forward to pay for the administrators' salary and benefits coming in. So we always expect at least a couple $100,000 to come in forward in roll forward so we can take care of that chunk.
But I mean, let's say I'm a teacher and I know the money is available. So we know we're going to use crayons next year. We know we're going to use this, that. I mean, some things are constant. So I would encourage them to go ahead and spend it.
They were encouraged. They had their totals from October, and in January, February, and April, they were all told that there was going to be a cutoff date for purchase orders at May the 2nd. That has happened. The reason is we have 41 grants we have to close before June 30th. So we have a lot of paperwork to do and a lot of balancing to do and tracking down all of these purchase orders and getting the materials in before we can close things out on June 30th.
Okay, so in other words, May 2nd is come and gone. So
That's correct.
They can't order anything when they're
No,
finished.
not now, but I can tell you most of the schools ordered many thousands of dollars of supplies
Yes.
before that date came and went.
They also need to be noted, she gave them a 2-week extension from that May 2nd date.
Yeah, it's closed right now.
Okay.
We can't do it.
I just
We
wanted to
can't yet.
clarify that because I hate to see money unused. Let's put it
right.
that way.
Well, the money, most of the money you're talking about would be the money that was in Title I.
Yes.
And many of the schools had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Some of the schools, we even asked, what are you going to do with all of that paper? Because paper doesn't hold for very long. You know, because it warps with the moisture, and then what happens is you put it in a copier and it tears it up, and then the IT people are not happy with us.
Okay. Well, I'm glad
And then
to
we
hear-
have to wait for the machines to be fixed.
Right.
So there's a lot of things, but there was a lot of spending, a big flurry of spending for a whole month of April.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
And going into 4430, that's your big pot of your ESSER 2, it's closed. Your 4440, that's your little pot of ESSER 2, it's closed. So you're just seeing money that's just been spent this year, but it's already been closed. In your 4450, you're looking at your ESSER money, that's your ARP, your big pot of ARP and learning loss and the formula grant. We took in 1.8 million, we spent out 1.8, so we're pretty balanced on that. We are hoping that we can use a good chunk of that money to help pay for the chillers at the high school and the energy controls at Central. And 4460, that's the small pot of ESSER 3 ARP. We had 372,000 in revenues and we spent 417, so you've got about 45,000 in transit. You won't have no fund balance comes on those. There will not be any roll forward on those projects in ESSER. What Ms. Hill was referring to is there's a potential If we have contracts that extend beyond the December 31st date, first we thought we had till January 31st, and then the legislature in DC said, no, hold up, that's for the state, you guys have to have yours done by December 31st. So the state has said that there is a waiver that they can request from the federal government that allows you to go for 14 months to liquidate, to take care of those contracts that are 2 years that are going to run out. So you won't get your services on those contracts until after the liquidation period. But once the liquidation period ends, that's it, it's done. And it cannot be for employees, it cannot be for wages, it can't be for travel or trainings. It has to be, for example, if you rented a building in Madison, in the city of Madison, to do tutoring, and you have a contractor that's doing your tutoring, you could ask that that contract and that building rental be extended until the liquidation period ends because it was already in place and they're still trying to use up and catch these kids up in tutoring.
But you cannot pay for the tutoring services.
It won't pay for the tutoring services that are delivered through our employees, but if that was a contracted service, then that contract would be honored because with the federal government, a contract, the period of availability of a contract starts the day you sign it. So when you sign it, it counts for that project year. But what they're saying is, yeah, but a lot of people are coming in with 3- and 4-year contracts, and they're saying, yeah, but you really shouldn't be spending money beyond when it's due. You're not going to get your services. So now they're giving us a little bit of opportunity to come in and waive that and have 14 months to try and spend that money down. But after that, it's done. It's all over. It's what they call the Treasury sweep, where they sweep it all back.
Now, that's what Ms. Hill was referring to. Now, okay, in other words, if we have a contract that's 2 years, that'll go through past the December, the cutoff date, is there any other way we can take advantage of that?
Well,
With any of our curriculum?
Things like Tim is going to talk to you about with the chiller and the energy controls. What we're seeing throughout the United States, not just in Madison or not just in Florida, is that a lot of those a lot of those things that you have to purchase, your chillers and all of your equipment, is on back order. And they're shipping, holding things up as well. So this gives you a chance to have the contract locked in before September 30th, and yet have the services to get it and to put it installed and everything during that 14-month period. But after that, if it's not done at the end of that 14-month, it can't be paid for with the ESSER money. We'd have to absorb that with general.
Well, thank you for explaining that.
No problem. And I ask that the board
To
chair
accept your report.
accept the report.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the financial report. I second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Thompson, seconded by Mrs. Knight, that we accept the financial report. Any other questions? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.8, field trips. Superintendent Joseph.
Madam Chair, I have 4 field trips before you have 3 in your book. The first field trip is for the high school high-tech club is asking to go take a group of kids to Jacksonville on June 13th. That'll be a day trip. That's 17 students, 3 chaperones. On June 15th through 18th, Beta Club is going back to the National Beta Convention. They're having a smaller group this year. But the Beta Convention is in Savannah. She's taking 7 students and 3 chaperones. July 15th through 26th, the FFA Forestry Camp, she's taking 5 to 6 students with 1 chaperone to Alena State Park. One trip we do not have in there, it's actually 2. Last week, because of the weather, the Central School had 2 trips planned. One trip to the aquarium in Atlanta and another one to Orlando to the Science Museum. We believe in the safety of our kids, and they were scheduled to leave very early that morning. and they really couldn't make it that morning. And so to compensate that group of kids, because that's the one group of kids that have not had a field trip, she's asking to allow the fifth graders to go over to Valdosta tomorrow to a movie, and the seventh graders to go Wednesday to a movie. Those are the field trip requests.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the field trips.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Knight, seconded by Mrs. Gibson, that we accept the field trips. Questions? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay. 5.9, summer work hours, Mrs. Killingsworth.
Yes, ma'am. We have as you know, typically we do the 4-day work week during the summer. And in short, the document you have in front of you basically outlines that as far as the first day being June 3rd through the August 1st. It outlines to all employees how those days will be set up. If you're a 12-month, 11-month, 10-month, how you will work each day, so that it'll be laid out, as well as it shows the per week, if there's a holiday or something in that week that, it's 3-week or 4-day system. So we're bringing this to you to ask your approval for a 4-day work week following these guidelines.
I move we approve the summer work hours.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we approve the summer work hours. Questions?
When is the last day? Is that for 10-month employees? Is that next Friday? Not
May
this Friday?
31st.
Yes.
31st, okay.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the motion? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.10, staffing allocation plan. Mrs. Joseph.
Okay, Madam Chair, Ms. Hill is going to help me with this, but I'm bringing back my staffing plan for my school district, for the schools, because we need to get these schools staffed. And looking at the staffing allocation plan, this is in line with the staffing allocation plan that was approved July 3rd, and we were constantly reminded that we need to cut the ESSA position, so I'm showing you I was requested to bring a copy of the ESSA position that's actually been cut.
Okay, so, Madam Superintendent, this is just the ESSER positions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I had requested the additional positions that were not ESSER. Were there
We
any
haven't
other?
finished with the district, but those are the ESSA positions. I've got a few to cut at the district level. I haven't done that. That's document's going to be at the next meeting.
Let me just interrupt. There are some other grant funds on here, not just ESSER. There were some UNICEF positions, and the UNICEF will be going away in a couple of places. And so you'll see that's on there. If it's listed as ESSER or ARP, that's the COVID recovery money. But you will see that there was also a mental health allocation. I think it came along with ESSER, that those funds there's less of those funds, and so we'll have to cut one of those positions. But it's mainly, the only place where we could cut was grant-funded positions.
We won't get Title I, Part D next year either.
Right. I don't know if you guys realize, but the state is changing how they're doing DJJ facilities. And so at Joanne Bridges, we won't get Title V money because the state is taking over their education for them and doing that through a contract. So that money won't come through us anymore.
Just one moment here and let her finish reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
We tried to be very proactive with like some of the positions as people left the positions maybe even up to a year ago. We did not refill those positions. One example is the early literacy coach. That individual took another position, and so we did not advertise that. We just did not fill it, even though it was, listed in the grant, because we didn't want to just take somebody on for a year and then say, I'm sorry, you don't have a job anymore. When we first did those positions, we knew it was going to be for 3 years. But as it was winding down, we did not put people in those positions because we knew they were going to get cut.
So some of the positions are vacant.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
another point I need to clarify, the question was asked last time, are we cutting into teachers? We're not cutting into teachers because we were already short on teachers. Okay, some of these other positions, we're not cutting them because, like I said, we've got vacant teacher positions. We would love to have a teacher in each classroom. And so we did not cut any teaching positions.
That's a question I have is there are 2 kindergarten teachers listed that come out of ESSER funds, so are they just going to have, are they going
Those
to
were
be paid out?
positions that were never
Positions
filled.
last year.
Okay, they were never filled, okay, that was my question.
The PE teacher was a position that was never filled.
Okay.
Okay.
And the 8 errors.
Those are positions that, when we started getting down to the end, we stopped hiring even though those positions were there. And we had enough attrition that everybody's going to have a job. They won't lose.
We're not cutting any people, but we're
Right.
cutting those positions. They might be repurposed. They may have moved to a different school, but the positions are still there.
What I want to do, now this is mostly ESSER funding, which is money that came in over the last few years, we know that. But how does this affect the fund balance though? Because, in other words, ESSER is going to go and the money's going to be gone. It was only temporary to begin with. The superintendent said we were down $800,000. I know that it's a declining enrollment, but I don't see.
It's going to dip into the fund balance for sure. You're going to have more positions paid for out of the general fund.
If she noticed on
Well,
her account, she
are any of them
says,
going to be cut out of the general fund? In other words, these
Yes.
positions
We
are
will-
all ESSER
We
money.
will have some positions, for example, we will have one AP cut out of the general fund. We'll have 2 positions up here at the district
That's why I
office
asked.
cut out of general fund.
I asked for the list of additional cuts that she's going to be making that are not grant or ESSER funded, and so that's what she's saying she's still working on to get to this. Because those are the positions that are going to help us save money. These, you know, like us transferring these people are going to cost us money.
To the general fund.
Yeah.
And if you notice in her report, she says we're down 124 FTE from the beginning of the year. And so we've got to be diligent, careful with our spending. But yes, I am cutting one of the APs from Central School. That's one of the things we've been hearing all year. Oh, yes, we're cutting, we've got a person retiring up here, we're not filling that position. And we've got another position that's
So
going.
you have all that information for us at the next
Yes,
board
ma'am,
meeting?
I have it at the next
Okay,
board meeting.
thank you.
I've
I would
requested
love
that.
to talk with the people before I put it on paper.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll also say on the, like, one of the very few things on here that's being transferred to general fund is the MTSS. We have to provide the MTSS services. What we're trying to do is combine so that we don't need as many, or we can get by with less people doing those, providing those services.
Combining job duties
Yes, ma'am.
and responsibilities.
So have a district person who covers the outlying schools and a couple grades at Central, so that, you know, we get everything covered. Right now, there are 2 MTSS specialists at Central. One of those positions is going away, and then one person will pick up all of the outlying schools and 2 grades at Central, like we do with our staffing specialists.
Now, where will the one person be located?
It's a district position. I mean, we would think centrally, because they're going out to all the different schools. So, you know,
When you get it worked out, you'll let us know.
yes, ma'am, I can. I mean, it could be,
You're presenting
right now,
proposals.
our district folks are located at Central, like the staffing specialists. So, because they travel to all the other schools, that's the central location. So, I mean, it makes sense to do that. But
It will be fair and equitable treatment for all of our employees.
What's that mean?
That we're going to treat all of them right.
I hope
and
we're going
alike.
to treat
That's
them
what we-
fairly. Was
We're
anyone
not
treated?
going to, we're not going to mistreat one of our employees.
I hope
We're gonna-
not.
Well, these people are represented by the union anyway, so we have people who represent these people, so.
And they don't mind going to the union.
I was going to just add, you know, you talk about the MTS. Okay, when a person is located at a school, they help in a lot of different areas, not just, now, for instance, the MTSS person. You know, when you're at, and I'll take our community schools, for instance. They do a tremendous amount of things, not just that job. I mean, they have many jobs. And it provides the school with a lot of activities. And, I mean, they're doing testing, MTSS, the reading coach, the curriculum, the guidance. In other words, they wear a lot of different hats.
Ms. Gibson, when I went to Lee Elementary School, I wore every one of those hats as the principal. I did not have anybody to help me,
You didn't have.
and I had 220 students.
And I even taught PE out of Greenville,
I taught PE, I did all the lunch duties, I did all the MTSS.
Well,
as
thank
well
you.
as taught class.
We need to put that flag at half-mast. So I'm telling you, it's a somber day.
We need to go right, and what are we going to decide?
That's what they need to do.
5.10 staffing allocation plan. What are we going to do with that? Are we going to accept it?
I move to approve it.
I second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Mr. Carroll, excuse me, second by Mrs. Knight, that we accept the staffing allocation plan. Any other questions? All in favor, please show your hand. Okay, that's 4. All opposed? Mrs. Gibson, the opposing vote, 1. Thank you. I'm remembering 5.11, the 5-year work plan. I remember.
Thanks for not forgetting this. I've got in front of you, this is actually the 23-24 work plan. We were running a little late with it, because it was kind of unsure of what we were doing with outlying schools as far as the planning goes. It's going to make a difference on where our work plan looks. Once you get past the first year, it's best educated guess past that, anything can change. Hurricane can roll up again. Tornadoes.
Please don't speak that into existence.
There's a lot of things, a variable past the present year. So, these are just numbers that's put together by schools, that it's just kind of a work plan that we put out there on figures that we can kind of use to kind of guide us along whenever we're spending our monies. But this, the revenues you see here on this front page, 23-24, the revenues, and then you see our costs. So our plan, our funds pretty much balance funds versus the cost, and it all balances out. It don't change a whole lot throughout the years. It hasn't since I've been here. So it pretty much is what it is.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 5 schools, so wouldn't the 5 schools be included in the 5-year plan?
Yes.
Because I only see 2 schools here, unless I'm missing something. I see Madison High School and Madison County Central, so I would think that we would put all the schools in there.
They're right here on
See,
the
we do
third
our-
page.
I see Pinetta Lee.
Yes,
Lee,
I did see them.
Excel, Central.
Okay, all right, well, I must, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Keep in mind also that as STE falls, the capital outlay STE continues to fall as well. So that will also impact the amount of money they have in maintenance and capital outlay dollars.
Then did you say we're gonna lose another 20% to the charter schools?
In addition to,
That's capital outlay funding, yes. This year was 20%, next year will be 40%, following 60%. So as the money, as we continue to get falling enrollments, our overall pot starts shrinking, but yet we have to still give out chunks of that pot, increasingly big chunks of that pot to the outlying schools. The capital outlays for all the schools, not just the 5 traditional schools.
The picture's getting grimmer and grimmer and grimmer and grimmer.
Mr. Gaines?
The trees dying.
It did.
So it's my recommendation that we accept this, y'all accept it.
I move to accept the work plan, 5-year work plan.
I second.
It has been moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Mrs. Knight, that we accept the 5-year work plan. Any other questions? All in favor, please show your hand. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. 5.12, spot survey recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. This is there's a pot of money out there that's been building over the years. It's called CO and DS funds. To be able to spend that money, there's some hoops we got to jump through. The first one being, we had to call for a spot survey saying that we actually needed these repairs done. We had a meeting with DOE, and they come over and done a spot survey. And with the high school and central, they these figures that you see here, and I think the total was, what was it? Almost 7 million, wasn't it? Yeah, 7 million. If you look kind of toward the bottom of the last page, 7,856,262. That was their recommendation on the renovation cost of our chiller plants and stuff that's going to be, we need to have replaced. These plants are as old as the school. We didn't renovate them whenever the high school was in. We renovated in 16, 17. And Central is a 2001 school, and it's never been the HVAC controlled or chiller has not been. And now when I say chillers, I mean all associated pumps and wiring and controls and all the control machines.
And Tim, understand that there's only around 700,000 in the COES capital outlay/debt service fund that's been accumulated. But we worked with DOE, and they had to plan out what those things would cost. So they're saying that we'd be able to use that 700 toward the cost of those.
Yeah, the next two, if y'all approve this, we send this approved spot survey to DOE. They look at, we have to come up with a priority list of how we want to spend it, on what we want to spend it on. And then they take a look at it, make sure it's in our 5-year plant survey. And then they approve it from there and then send it back to us, and I'll bring it back to y'all. But there's just several, for their procedures, several hoops we have to go through to spend that money. That'll help us some.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the work plan.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, seconded by Mr. Carroll, that we accept the work plan. Any other questions? None. All in favor, please show your hands.
That's spot
Spot
survey.
survey.
Wait, we need to
Spot
carry this,
survey.
wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, that's not how
We
it's
got to
worded.
vote here now. We got to vote, we'll carry this vote through, and then you can ask some other questions. It was a 5-0, wasn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
5-0. Now, if there are any other questions, you can,
Unless you clarify that you're trying to approve the spot.
Yeah, it's on here as a work plan, so that's, just to clarify, that's what the motion was for. Yes.
Thank you.
okay. 5.13, MOU with MCEA Memorandum of Understanding with Madison County Education Association.
Yes, ma'am. What this is about is the other day when we had to be off due to the weather. Like I said, we had to make a call based on the information that we had at the time, based on what the conditions were and what the expectations were. The morning was rough, however, the afternoon ended up being nice, actually. However, the bottom line is, on that particular day, the employees were off, and what we are asking is that that day be waived or not made up, and no financial implications for that. To be honest with you, other than if you do Memorial Day, there's really no day you're gonna be able to make it up.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the MOU with Madison County Education Association.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the MOU with the Madison County Education Association. Any questions? All in favor, please show your hand. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're moving into item number 6, other items of interest. The superintendent, the attorney, and then board members.
Okay, that's beginning of the year dates for you. I know we've been talking about them constantly, but they are moving target also. Like tonight, the take stock in children, they're having their program tonight, but it couldn't be prevented because they had prior to schedule, and then one of their members had something that they had to deal with, and this was the only time that was available. And so this is the dates for the remainder of the year.
So the Pinetta has been moved to 6 o'clock instead of 5:30.
No wrong, it's 5:30.
Madison Central also has a award ceremony tomorrow.
Okay, these are the ones that wasn't on the regular clock.
Okay.
Nothing has been removed. So
So-
you got these other dates.
So Pinetta Elementary 6th grade graduation, what time is it? 5:30, so it has 6 o'clock on here. I knew it had 5:30 on the hood, you want to make sure.
No, the time hasn't changed.
Okay, so then the band concerts, okay, thank you.
Band concert is tomorrow night, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
Lee Elementary
Saturday.
has,
Pinetta Elementary is
I
tomorrow
did
night
not put
also.
all those award things on there.
Ma'am?
I did not put all the awards on here because you already have
Yeah,
them.
we have that.
Okay.
I know Thursday night, there's Madison Creative Arts graduation, James Madison graduation.
Yeah, we have all
I'll mention
that.
that.
These are in addition to.
In addition to.
Okay,
In
one
addition to.
thing I need you to know, because we have an abbreviated beginning of school, we have an abbreviated dismissal of school. Wednesday will be our last day for my pre-K, my kindergarten, my first grade, and my ninth grade. So, and I think the school, what, seventh grade also?
yes.
Seventh grade also. And the schools are aware of that. They really celebrate. One other thing I need from you, because we have an October 1 deadline to get our teacher raise in place. And last year, we reported, the year before last, I had to go before state board because it takes us that long to settle. Last year, we happened to get settled in November. We're targeting October 1 this year. The negotiations team, bargaining team would like to set an executive session with you when. Looking at these dates,
Our next IBD meeting will probably be the end of June. So we're meeting next week, with IBD, so it won't be, we can do an executive session between now and then. Yes, we could.
between now and next week.
It's pretty
It's
close.
so slim to not happen.
Then it'll have to be either
Next
the
week.
week of June the 3rd, and we'll have to take it to the next IBD.
Okay, can we look at our calendars, look for a possible date for an executive session?
That's what I was referring to in the financial report, that you have a 3-year plan trying to raise the teacher's salary. And we have to talk about how much the raise will be for any.
So if you have your information, just sort of give us a date, because we're going to be dependent on you all for that information. So can you kind of give us a date and see
And can we
what's
do
good
it-
for you?
Can we do it before I have to check Leonard, but can we do it before the June 3rd meeting? That same day?
That means, June 3rd, she's talking about me at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I won't be here, but I'm going to try to call in to do it by phone.
Okay, somebody else, June 3rd at 5 o'clock?
That's good for me.
That works for me.
The whole month of June, I am. No,
Okay,
not all of it's fine.
Frankie?
I'm good with it.
Okay, we're gonna tentatively schedule it for June 3rd, and we'll get back with you
At 5 p.m. you say?
at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
That's an executive session.
Verify with Leonard.
Other than that, we've got a lot going on. I just need to remind all of y'all are one person. And I know you're running yourself ragged, but remember yourself. You gotta take care of yourself. I need you around here for tomorrow. Do not run yourself ragged. But we expect to see you Friday night. And at all the graduations. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Ma'am, unless you have questions.
Board members?
I'd like to recognize when I recognize these people, I know how much planning goes into it, all these fairs. For instance, the high school high-tech and James Madison High School banquets, FFA banquet, were both wonderful. Madison County Beta Club, that was everything was wonderful there. Madison County Central 8th grade graduation, very, very well attended. Pre-K graduation at Greenville Elementary School. And I just happened to be there that day. I didn't realize it was going to be a graduation, but it was adorable, very nice. This coming Friday at the courthouse, the American Legion, Cherry Lake, will be placing these flags up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, I bring this up at a board meeting because the money generated from those flags goes into our schools in various ways. One of the ways is providing them with a flag. They provide a lot of flags, especially the outdoor flags that take a beating. So if you'd like to help, 8 o'clock, courthouse, Friday. Thank you.
I don't have anything.
I would,
Let me go ahead.
You go ahead.
Because-
I'm gonna take your stuff.
Yeah. All right.
He says we always say it.
I went
Well, you can't.
I went to a bunch of graduations and awards days. You know, I think I went to every school except Greenville, and I'm going there tomorrow. But I really enjoyed them. I really like watching the little pre-Kers because you never know what that little joker's going to do.
Amen.
You're sitting on the edge of your seat because you know one of them finna do something. It was fun. I had a good time. We had the spring football game on Friday. We played a lot of kids. The score, you know, you keep score, but we played all our kids to get all our kids on film to see. I'm talking behind coaches now. I don't know. I said we. I didn't have nothing to do with all that, but they played a lot of kids, and so the Cowboys are going to be all right. I was proud of the softball team and the baseball team for their accomplishments during the season. Track team. I don't want to leave anybody out. What else is involved?
You can't get it all.
I can't remember what else is in the spring. There's a bunch of stuff in the spring. What? Flag football, yes.
Leave something for Devin to say.
Huh?
Leave something for Devin to say.
No, I'm gonna do a filibuster. I gotta laugh a little because I won't cry all the way home on this meeting we had tonight. But anyway, I just appreciate all y'all being here, everybody.
You done?
Yeah.
I would like to say thank you to the staff at the elementary school for putting on a wonderful pre-K graduation last week. Madison County Central, I'm a little biased. I had an 8th grader graduate. My oldest son will be going to high school next year, and that was a wonderful program. And I also was able to attend the Madison County High School Beta Club and Senior Recognition Program. It was wonderful to see all of those students and hear about their accomplishments, both academically and with their extracurricular accomplishments. And that's all I have.
And I will pretty much just echo everything that has been said. And I just want to say thank you to all of our faculty and staff for a wonderful school year, since we won't be meeting before the school year is over. And just let you know how much we appreciate you and all of your efforts and everything that you've done this school year for the school district and for the students. And I just want to say congratulations to the class of 2024. I cannot wait to celebrate with you all out there on Friday evening and with James Madison on Thursday evening. And I am extremely proud of each and every one of them. We have an amazing class in 2024, some really intelligent kids, and you know, it just really gives me hope for our future with some of these kids that are coming through this year. So I just want to say congratulations, and we are proud of you.
May I say something else? This will become a habit, I'm sorry. One of the things that we at schools look for is for testing. We spend a lot of time testing, and I think we finally completed testing to date. But the state has thrown a kink in it, and so they've got to renorm the scores. And so the actual, you can figure out all your school grades you want to, but they are not going to actually release the school grades until sometime, hopefully in July. So no, we do not have any school grades. What they've done so far, some of the principals, they've done the best guess estimate, but the state may change the bar. So don't hold them to it. We wish them luck. And at next meeting, we will be recognizing the retirees.
It's June 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
We're getting ready to
No,
get
it was
started.